Over on Capitol Hill, the Senate has very little time left to reach a compromise on border funding and foreign aid. Before adjourning for the holidays, they already delayed their break to allow more time for negotiations. So for more on this, I want to bring in congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane. So Scott, where do negotiations on Capitol Hill currently stand regarding, the funding for the border and how it's paired to foreign aid?
Yeah, Anne-Marie, there's one thing for certain. There's a resignation that these negotiations are not going to wrap up this week. There was a hope of that as the week began. There was an aspiration, but there's a resignation now that, first of all, the issue is too thorny. Immigration reform takes time, even in the best of times. But there's also a turnout problem. There are less than 70 of the 100 senators who've come back to town this week. Others have written off the possibility of getting a deal by week's end. So there aren't even enough bodies here to do the things the Senate needs to do. Here's what the White House has requested. Not just money for Israel, but that $61 billion in aid for Ukraine and some U.S. border security money. But the Senate negotiators who are in the room have reported some progress, but they've acknowledged, Anne-Marie, they're still a long ways off.
So we know now that I guess there's going to be kind of like another installment of funding for Ukraine. But everything we've heard is that by the end of the year, this money's running out. So do we know just how much money is left to support the war effort there?
Yeah, the White House says they're burning through the last of what they have in this pot. And keep in mind, the money for Ukraine is more than just for munitions and military equipment. It's for humanitarian needs to help resuscitate the damaged economy during this war. At one point, according to our CBS News reporting, the burn rate of this money was at approximately $2 billion a month. They go through it quickly amid a war in Europe, but it's possible they can scale back some of that spending during this precarious time in which Washington is still trying to fight to give them more money. But the White House has been unequivocal, Anne-Marie. They say this money is needed by the end of the month, and this money is not going to be approved by the end of the month.
So, but here's the thing, the Senate is staying, but the House has already left. So how much can actually be done if the House is not in session?
The House is not coming back till January 8th or 9th. So everything's halted until the House comes back here to approve anything the Senate approves of. And I got to tell you, based on our latest reporting, Anne-Marie, the House is not going to rubber stamp or sign off on something the Senate does without putting its own fingerprints on this aid package. There are a number of immigration hardliners in the House Republican Conference who have campaigned on this issue. It is a high, if not top priority for them. So this is the picture that's becoming clear as we hit Tuesday afternoon here in Washington. There is this sense that this is going to cost time. Not only will an aid package cost money, but it's going to burn through time. Nothing will be rectified here likely until the second week of January at the earliest.
And can you tell us more about this special conference meeting that GOP leaders are pushing for to happen in January?
Yeah, the Republican leaders are going to talk about priorities ahead as they enter 2024. There's also reporting today that they're planning their conference, their private meeting at the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia, which is a common retreat location. This is where the party tries to get aligned on what it wants to do and what it doesn't want to do as it enters not just an election season, Anne-Marie, but critically, politically, a primary season. Republicans have to go win primaries at home to get on the ballot in 2024, which means they have to negotiate and be judicious about what position they take on things like border security, aid for Israel, and aid for Ukraine. It looks the part of a collision of so many different high priorities in mid-January here. It's hard to see how they unknot this and get everything done on schedule.
Yeah. So we know that the president has basically hinted that he's willing to compromise with Republicans to get some deal done. He's taken some criticism for that. What sort of concessions is the White House offering?
Yeah, we've been speaking with Republican Senate leadership, and John Thune told us that he thinks the White House is a little too late to the party here, bringing these negotiations to the Senate. Here's what we can say for certain. They're having a negotiation and a battle right now politically on turf that is uniquely friendly to Republicans, Anne-Marie. They want to debate immigration. They want to have this be the dominant part of the political conversation, and the White House has already surrendered that. But there's also this political reality, Anne-Marie. There is this desire among Democrats, especially in competitive districts, to get something on border security. Their constituents want it too, which does set the table for at least some optimism as the year ends that something can get done.
Here's hoping. Scott, thank you very much.